You all to the session. So good evening and welcome again to all of you. This is yet another Be Still Monday Mindfulness Series, and this program is presented by the Newark Center for Meditative Culture in partnership with Greater Newark LISC and is sponsored by the Victoria Foundation. My name is Tanisha Malcolm. And I will be facilitating, co-facilitating this evening's session. I'll be closely paying attention to the chat as our two presenters will be leading you all in workshop and meditation session. We will begin with a short guided meditation at the very beginning, which will be in a few seconds. It's led by Andrea Lee, who is the acting treasurer of Newark Center for Meditative Culture. She also provides meditation and mindfulness instruction for other NCMC programs. Tonight's session is unique, but very important, some rich information and content. The title is Mindful Budgeting to Thrive, and it is led by Andrew Coombs. And in this workshop, Andrew will open your minds to expand your financial potential. It's a really peculiar time in this world, and finances are sometimes something that at this juncture we are questioning, like, what do we have? What do we don't have? What do we do with what we have? So some focus of tonight's conversation will talk to you a little bit about household budgeting tips and advice on placing value on the right things. Andrew will also present reasons to consider the purchase of a multifamily home or even starting your own business. So be sure to grab a paper and a pencil. Andrew will give a little bit of background to what it is he does. He has an establishment in the city of Newark, where he provides financial advice and accounting services, and I'm sure he'll dive into that a little bit deeper. But without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Andrea, who will open us up with a breathing meditation. Again, should you all have questions or need more information, feel free to use the chat, and I can either field your questions for you, or if you want, you can just openly ask your question by unmuting yourself to the group. So Andrea, I am turning it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And, you know, some wise people often say that you teach what you need. So I have to tell you right now, I need a little bit of heart-centered grounding meditation. So it will take just a few minutes and is just kind of a sample of, or an intro to what a longer meditation could look like. But my heart is feeling pretty heavy right now. I love to see your faces, and that helps me smile, but I have not been smiling the whole day. And so I think if we can start by, if you are sitting in a comfortable position, if you're in a chair, might help to have your feet grounded on the floor, or you can be sitting cross-legged or even lying down if that's where you are already. And just take one hand to the heart area and you can place one hand around the belly and begin to tune in to how you're breathing right now, right here. There's no doubt a lot that is filling my mind and heart, and maybe yours too. And yet we can so easily get swept away by the many things that happen throughout our day. So it's good to come back and check in. And having the hands over the heart and over the belly allows you to really feel where the breath resides in your body. As you inhale, you can feel your chest expand. And as you exhale, you feel it release. If you inhale a little deeper, eventually you'll have some expansion in the belly as well. That's where the deep breathing, the most healing breath, happens, when you're able to really breathe down into the belly and exhale, releasing the breath from the belly, from the chest, and back out through the nose or mouth. So however long it takes for you to do a full inhale, see if you can make your exhale just a little bit longer, a little bit slower. So if you inhale for 3 counts, see if you can exhale for 4 or 5 counts. This signals to the brain that you are ready to rest or digest. And the relaxation function of the brain starts to take hold. So if you're anxious, this is a great breath pattern to do. If you need a hug and you can't find anybody who you can hug in this quarantine, this is a nice breath to do, because it's giving yourself and the brain permission to take care of itself. So again, inhaling, filling up the chest and the belly, and exhaling, a little bit longer. And also at a time when we have been advised not to touch as much, it is really helpful and nice to be able to hold on to your own heart and body. The body responds to it even though it's your own hands. So we'll do one more deep inhale. And a full exhale. And slowly releasing your hands. Making any movements, maybe shrugging the shoulders up to the ears and down. And I am feeling ready to engage in this awesome discussion that we're going to be having this evening. Thank you, Andrew. It's all you.
Okay.
Thank you. I am going to pass it on over to you, Andrew.
Okay. Thank you. So just giving a brief introduction, my name is Andrew Coombs. I'll tell you a little bit about where I'm from, my background, and I just want this session, I want you guys to be able to ask questions as we go. So feel free to raise your hand because I want it. Your time is valuable. I want you guys to get something out of this. So I'll just give you a brief background. Name is Andrew Coombs. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts area. I went to school at Loyola Chicago and I played D1 basketball there. And then I did my master's at Bentley in Boston. And so, I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant. I'm the owner of Coombs CPA. It was a firm started in 2018. I originally wanted the firm to be in Jersey City, but part of my business model is to buy the building with a mix of commercial and residential so that the residents pay the debt of the building. And so the business operates without any expenses. Now, if you know Jersey City it was not in my price range. So the next best thing was Newark, and I ended up in the Wheat Creek section. So, in terms of what my firm provides, we're a registered CPA firm. We do audits. We're able to do government audits. At the end of this year, we'll be able to do municipal audits. We do CFO outsource. So for companies, we outsource their accounting department. We do their payroll. We keep track of contractors. We give them financials every month. And then we do taxes for individuals, complex taxation for individuals. We do, taxation for businesses. We have notary services. A lot of people in the community, they come here to get their notary stamp. Currently, my company right now, we have one full-time employee and I have 2 contractors that I work with. And so I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that all you came to listen. I really do appreciate it. And, I talked to Marcy and, she wanted me to stay very high level. So I'm not going to dive too much into detail, but I think it's best to just kind of tell you all my story. And you guys can take it from there. So in terms of financials and financial literacy, I went to school for accounting and finance, but to be honest with you, in school, they don't really teach you about, real world, investments and real world financial things, And so I'll give you, one of the examples was when I graduated from college, I think I was 21 or 22, and I got my first credit card, right? And I'm like, yeah, I got a job, I got a credit card, and I'm up there and I'm just swiping that thing. I'm 21, I'm swiping, I'm buying everything, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to pay this back until, I'll just make the minimum payment. And no one told me about this. And so, months go by and I'm talking to my brother and I'm like, yeah, I'm just making the minimum payments. I just swipe my brother's like, what are you doing? I'm 21 years old. I'm 33 now. I'm 21 years old. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just making the minimum payments. He's like, no, you don't do that. You got to pay the whole balance off. And I'm like, oh. And then when I check the credit score, I'm like, oh. Okay. So that's how I learned my lesson when I was 21. And now on all my credit cards, I have 0 balances. I have a credit limit with all my cards of maybe 70, 80K, and there's no balance. I paid things off immediately because I learned my lesson at 21, but no one taught me that in school. And so these are the type of stuff that I wish they taught, in schools, a lot of the life skills, right? And so just talking about budgeting, I have this rule called the 30% rule. And, whatever you make, you should store aside 30%, okay? So you should always have a reserve of money. You know, a lot of people, they get in trouble because, you know, they try to keep up with the Joneses. And, you know, I'm a big firm believer of, you know, living below your means, you know, be comfortable, you know, and that's my rule, the 30% rule. In terms of budgeting, I also recommend for people, there's something called a Mint app, and it kind of helps people. It's called MINT, and it's an app that helps people, you know, budget. Another thing is, you know, invest. Don't just be a consumer, right? You know, you want to invest in something, you know, that makes you money, okay? And I'll give an example of my, you know, situation. You know, when I was in high school, I was really big on getting the newest name brand clothes, right? I've probably at the height of my collection, I owned about 400 pairs of Jordans, Air Forces, Timberlands. I just, you know, but that was a bad, that was not good, that was not a good investment. Your Jordans can never really pay you, right? Your Jordans, the money won't work for you, right? And so I realized that as I got older, I said, you know, why do I have all these sneakers? And, you know, why do I have all these name brand clothes? Like, how is this going to help me get to the next level? Okay. And so it's important, you know, in our communities to invest, you know, invest. You know, you could buy nice stuff and be a consumer, but, you know, you don't want it to overwhelm you. Like I didn't need 400 pairs of sneakers. I didn't need that. I was collecting them in high school, and I just wanted to show up and wear some fresh shoes, you know? So invest. Now I'm not big into the stock market. I personally, I'm really big into real estate. And the reason why I like real estate is cash flow. Every month is cash flow, okay? And I'm big into multifamily real estate. And I'll tell you why, okay? And let me ask you, does anyone have any questions? Because I don't want to just be rambling, and, you know, I want to make sure, you know, you guys get something out of this. Okay. So, you know, I'm really big on real estate. I will say this, in our communities, I think that a single family is not a good investment. Now, I've talked to people about this, and, you know, a lot of people agree. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be in a building with other people. But a single family won't give you any cash flow. You're really making the bank rich. Now, I understand when you're at the point where you have a family and want to settle down, you want your own space. So a single family is better than, you know, it's better than an apartment, because you're still building equity, but it's not the best investment in terms of real estate. I tell young people coming out to invest in multifamilies, okay? Because when you invest in multifamilies, the tenant is able to pay your debt. You pretty much live free. And when I purchased my first property, I was 26, and I purchased it. It was like maybe about 10 minutes from downtown Boston. So the town called Medford, Massachusetts. And, you know, I was 26, I bought it. It was a single family. And, you know, it just kind of drained me. You know, every month my whole check would go to paying the house. And it was actually a condo townhome. And, you know, what happened with it was, you know, you have to deal with the association, and they speak on your money. When you have your multifamily and you just own it outright, you just do what you want, and your cash flowing, money's coming in. So I tell a lot of the young people, I say, you know, when you come out and you save a little bit of change, get an FHA. Don't get a single family. Don't get a condo. Get a multifamily. Save up that money, and then when you get the multifamily and the tenant's paying the rent, it's like a domino effect. You save up cash, you could just buy the next one. Or you could pull the equity out and buy another one, okay? And so that's, you know, one of my big tips, okay? In terms of how my firm operates, you know, my firm, you know, when you have a lot of companies, you have a CPA firm, you have a law firm, their biggest expense is the lease. You know, a lot of these companies, in terms of their lease, they pay $4 grand, $5 grand, $6 grand. You know, the leases in WeQuick, a lot of them are $2 grand, $3 grand. You know, so if you look at it, you say, okay, why would I want, if I have a business, why would I want to lease? You know, why don't I get my change together, do a down payment, okay, and then have a residential mix, and then the residents will pay your number one expense for companies, which would be lease expense. Or employees is an expense, but lease is a pretty big expense. And so the business model here is okay, I don't really have much expenses in this business because this is a 4-unit building, okay? And so the tenants pay the debt of the building. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue. I'm gonna do it in Trenton, maybe do it in Camden, you know, and then and do it that way, okay? And so I recommend the people in here, you know, just to try to look for ways where you can invest and you're getting cash flow from something. I'm not a big fan of the stock market because I don't, you know, I see more people losing money than making money, okay? So yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. You know, just another thing too is cars. Cars are horrible investments. You know, never buy a new car. Try to buy a used car. Your car will never pay you. It depreciates rapidly the second you drive it off the market. Okay. Another thing I want to mention is this. Let's take another step back. You know, let's talk a little bit about taxes, right? The tax law is favorable to business owners and multifamily property owners, okay? Because when you're a business owner, okay, and you have business expenses, they offset your income, okay? And you could get money back. And I'll give you a good example. I have a client, and you know, he's got a government job, but he also owns, you know, a company that he started, and you know, he owed money for his individual return, okay? But his business was in the first year, and his business had losses because he was putting a lot of money into it. So he owed about $2 grand. I was able to get him back $9,000 because we were able to rope his business losses into his individual return, okay? If he did not have a business, he would have to pay that money, okay? And so when you see a lot of these, you know, wealthy people, and you say, how are they not paying taxes? How are they not paying taxes? They're not paying taxes because they're strategic with their businesses. They take the money and the expenses from it and they rope it into their individual return. So if you have an LLC, a single member LLC, that goes to the Schedule C of your individual return. If you have a dual member LLC, there's a K-1 form that goes to your individual return, okay? The tax law is favorable towards business owners. So I recommend people to start a business in something that they're passionate in. If you have a 9-to-5 job, cool, but you should also be on the side working on something that gives you another stream of income. And then from a tax perspective, it's going to benefit you, okay? So that was the first thing. The second thing is that from a business perspective, the tax law is also favorable towards multifamily property owners. Why is that? Okay, you say, oh, I got rental income. I got rental income. I'm going to get hit harder. Right, but you also have repairs for a multifamily dwelling. That's going to offset the income. Okay, you can also depreciate the property. You can take the cost of the property divided by 27.5 years and use that as an expense on your tax return when you own a multifamily property. Okay? The tax law is beneficial towards multifamily owners and business owners. So what I want you to take from this call is that, and I'm sure a lot of people here have businesses, but start a business, okay? Or, get a multifamily. Listen, people get screwed over so much in this society. Why not take advantage of these benefits from a tax perspective? A lot of people just leave it on the table. Okay.
Andrew, we have a few questions in the chat, if it's okay for me to.
Yeah, I'm open up the chat now. Let me see.
Yep, I can read them out to you if it's easier, or if you want to check them. There's one.
You can read it out.
Sure. So we have one person asking if you could give ways to budget and or save the 30% when you have very little expendable cash.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
Question number one. And another participant has asked the question of what is an FHA?
Okay.
And then the very last kind of speaks to your idea of establishing a business. And they ask questions about when is it beneficial to file for an LLC, or if you should file as an S Corp. So one's about the budget and the 30% rule that you mentioned, particularly when you have little expendable cash.
Right.
Around FHA, and the third is about the benefits for filing as an LLC versus an S Corp.
Right. And those are excellent questions, right? And the first question, can you give ways to budget and save when someone has little expendable cash? Okay. That's a great question. If someone has little expendable cash and they're fortunate enough to maybe, okay, to answer this question, there's really layers to this question because there's age ranges to how I would answer this question. Okay, so if it's someone who is maybe younger, I would say, if you have little expendable cash, don't rent an apartment, maybe stay at home with your parents or your grandparents until you have enough money to pay for a multifamily that could cash flow. Okay. When you have little expendable cash, I would say, you have to be really creative, right? You have to really, really just open up, go through your bank statement and see the unnecessary things that you purchase. Okay, because I'm sure even if you have a little expendable cash, I'm sure you have unnecessary things. Look at 3 months worth. Even eating out is as fun as eating out is, it's if you avoid stuff like that, you save money. So if you have a little expendable cash, look at your bank statement and say, hey, what can I cut out of here so I could get to that 30%? What can I eliminate from here? And I'm certain that you could find something that you can eliminate from there. I'm almost positive. It could be going out, it could be, you might go to happy hours every Friday, instead of doing it every Friday, do it maybe once a week. Instead of shopping at Whole Foods, in Boston, we call it Shaw's. I don't know I think it's ShopRite here. You could go to ShopRite, which is cheaper than Whole Foods, but just go through your bank statements. Okay, I hope that I answered your question. I think Unice asked that. I hope I answered your question. And then the second, Camilla, what is a FHA? So a FHA, that's like it's a type of loan for first-time home buyers. And, you know, it's really good because, you know, when you see a home, you know, you might see a home, it might be 200,000, 300,000. You know, you don't have to pay the full amount, but you have to put down a down payment. Okay. And FHA, when you're a first-time home buyer, it allows you to put down a low percentage, right? And so you might buy a house, you might see a home, let's say hypothetically around here for 300,000. Okay. You know, you could put 3.5% down. You don't have to put down $10,000, right? And so FHA is a special type of loan for first-time home buyers. It allows you to put less down. Okay. After that, you have to put 15 to 20. So an example is, you know, the first place that I bought, I was able to put down 3.5 down. I'm about to purchase a property in the West Ward, and they're making me put down about 20%. Okay. But your first go round, that's why I say your first go round, you have to get a multifamily, because your first go around, you're going to get 3.5. You only have to put 3.5% down. And then you get it. If you get a 3-unit, you get 2 tenants, you might make over the mortgage. And so the next property, when you have to put 15 or 20% down, you're ready to go. And then you start building from there. And then if you have a 30-year mortgage, let's say you're doing this in your 30s or your 40s, by the time you're 60, 70, the house will be paid off, and you have money coming in when the debt is already done. Okay. So to answer your question, FHA is for first-time home buyers, and it allows you to put less down. Okay. Then the next question is, can you speak to when it's beneficial for an LLC or to file as an S corp? Okay. And that's a good question. Okay. And so I'm going to explain very high-level tax structures, right? Business tax structures. You have a C corp, you have an S corp, you have an LLC, you have an LLP, you have a sole proprietorship. Okay. LLC versus S corp. Okay. So let's talk about an S corp. An S corp it can be treated with flow-through treatment. Okay. You have to fill out a form called a 2553. Okay. What is flow-through treatment? Well, there's really 2 options with S corp. It can be treated as flow-through, but it also can be treated as a C corp. Okay. And the difference between an S corp and a C corp is a C corp has double taxation. Okay. An S corp with flow-through treatment, the actual business entity is not taxed. You're taxed on the profits received. Okay. And so for a C corporation, they get taxed 2 ways. For an S corporation, if you do partnership type treatment, you only get taxed on the profits received. LLC is also a flow-through entity. Okay. So with an LLC, the actual business isn't taxed. Okay. The person is taxed on the profits received. So I'll give you an example. And I do have a fellow accountant in here. You know, so it's funny too. So for example, an LLC, the actual business entity isn't taxed. You're taxed on the profits received. So if we have an LLC and we're 50-50 partners, me and Andrea are 50-50 partners, and the business makes $10,000. That business does not get taxed $10,000. However, the profits of that, which would be split down the middle between me and Andrea, would be $5,000 and $5,000. That would flow through our individual return as income. Okay, but the business isn't taxed. You just tax on the profits received. S corp can function the same way. The key difference between an S corp and an LLC is that an S corp, it allows you to eliminate self-employment tax. Okay. Now, if you're starting a business, I would probably recommend an LLC. if your revenue starts getting in the millions, I would do an S corp because you get a tax-free distribution on self-employment tax. That's the main benefit, but they're kind of treated the same, they're similar. Okay. The next question, Leon Pinkney. How do we go about obtaining a multifamily when making 30K a year? That is a great question, Leon. There's a program called the NACA program where they allow you to purchase property without a down payment. Okay, that's one end. The second advice I would give you, if you're fortunate to have a family member, whether that be a mother, a father, grandmother, grandma, brother or sister that might have their own place, I would ask them, hey, I would like to purchase a property instead of renting. Would you mind if I stay with you for a year? I'll pay you a little bit of rent, and I could just have this reserve so that I could put down maybe the $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000. Or you could do the NACA program by maybe hopefully living with someone that you're close with so that you can save the money and you don't have to put a down payment, so then you have a cushion. That's what I would do if I was you, Leon. If you're in that situation, if you know someone you could live with and save a reserve. Because once you get your first multifamily, that's the beginning of starting to have discretionary income, because now you have an asset. The other thing too, once you own an asset, you could also take the equity out of a home. Okay, and for people in here, if I buy a property and it's worth $200,000, 5 years later, it's worth $300,000. You have $100,000 of built equity that you could take out of the house and buy something else. That's why real estate is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And so, Leon, I would try to stay with someone so you can save up a reserve. If you know someone, if you're fortunate enough, I would do that.
There's an additional question around helpful income tax tips. What should be claimed as deductions? Some uncertainties about, are you putting the right thing on the forms as you're completing them? I know that of confusion for many people, and they end up taking a larger hit than they anticipated. So any tips there?
Just in terms of preparing taxes? It says any helpful income tax tips.
Yes.
So that's a good question. Income tax tips. Number one, tax law is favorable towards business owners and multifamily property owners. Start a business, okay, legitimate business that runs parallel with your personal life, because you're leaving expenses on the table that you can't take. That's my first tip to you, okay? Second piece is get a multifamily dwelling. Income tax tips for people who owe a bunch of money and have a 9-to-5 job. Tip number one, adjust your W-4. You shouldn't be owing money. And if you do owe money, your W-4 is incorrect. A lot of people, they have incorrect W-4s, and then they owe a bunch of money, and they're getting paid more than what they should be. If you are a 1099 employer, Uber driver, Lyft driver, if they give you $1,000, store aside $300, and make estimated payments every quarter, because all that money is not yours. And a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers, I got plenty of them. I have to teach them the estimated payment process because they get hit, because they don't pay any tax. Because when you work a 9-to-5 job, they're doing this as you go. They're withholding taxes as you go, but you pay. When you get 1099 income, you got to do it yourself. Okay. And so
there's another question around.
Oh, thank you, Katim. Katim, you're on my task list. I'm going to be sending you an email after this too, with the time for tomorrow. Thank you, Camilla. Isan just put it in there. It's NACA, N-A-C-A. www.naca.com. And they're based in downtown Newark. You can purchase a property, okay, with 0% down, no money down. And so for someone like Leon, you save up a pretty good reserve and you get accepted for the NACA program, okay, and you get a multifamily, you're sitting on that cash and you're just chilling. And that's the beginning of having an investment that really pays you, okay? So
There is a
I see Katim, yep. So for
yeah.
those who receive stimulus, maybe getting unemployment are a little more than normal. Any suggestion on what to do with the money? No, that's not a lot, but one, two. So that's a great question, Katim. That's an excellent question.
Can we just read the question out just for the
Yeah. So for those who receive stimulus, maybe getting unemployment and are getting a little more than normal, any suggestions on what to do with the money? And my question is this. My answer is this. I personally wouldn't invest in the stock market. Okay. I would try to, if you have a loved one that owns any property, mother, father, grandparent, okay, and you have that luxury, or a sister, or a sibling, I would leave renting and see if you could stay with them for a year and save up the money to put something down. So my tip for them is try to save up enough money to invest in real estate. Or you could do something, if you don't like real estate and it's not your thing, you could do something safe, like put your money in like a CD at the bank and it builds interest as you go, okay? Or a mutual fund, something that's safe, and over time it builds value, okay? You could do something like that. I'm not big on trading, like you put the money in, because a lot of traders lose money. If you're gonna be investing in stocks, you gotta be in it for the long haul. And I would advise you go through a mutual fund, something safe, or CD, okay? So that's how I would answer that question. But that's a great question, Katim. New Jersey property taxes are ridiculous. Okay, I see a question, Camilla. I'll read her question out. New Jersey property taxes are high. Are there any programs to help people pay property taxes, or do you have tips on how to make sure taxes are covered if you purchase a multifamily home? That is an excellent question. The beautiful thing about owning a multifamily property is on your Schedule E, you deduct property taxes there, okay? That's the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing about owning a multifamily is when you rent at market and you have a decent property, okay, the property taxes is rolled into the mortgage. It should cover that, or at least be close, okay? And so New Jersey property taxes are high, right? But I would look in areas of property taxes that are low and that you can afford. One of the main reasons why I'm in Newark is because the property taxes are lower comparative to other areas. And I don't like big property taxes, because an area like South Orange, the property taxes are $24,000. After you pay the house, you still have to pay $2,000 every month for the rest of your life. Newark, it's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand. That's doable. Okay. So that's a great question. The difference between CD, IRA, mutual fund. So CD is something that's done through the bank, and it's usually a low interest rate. And they say, hey, you know, they say, hey, you know, if you give us $1,000, we guarantee you that we're going to have an interest rate of 1% or 5%. When you pull this money out, it's going to grow by 5% if you leave it in this amount. So if you have $1,000, you can go to the bank and say, hey, I want to do a CD, and they'll say, hey, if you put $1,000 in at the end of the year, you're going to have $1,050. So your money grows. But a CD, the interest rates aren't huge. Okay. The next thing is an IRA. IRA is done where it's like kind of like a retirement. It is a retirement account, and you put money in from your paycheck and it invests into things in the stock market. And over time it grows. The thing is, you can take it out. You can take it out before 59 and a half, but you get penalized 10%. But it does grow over time, okay? But an IRA is something that you could take out after 59 and a half in full. There's also a loophole with the IRA is that you could take out 10,000 of it tax-free for your first home purchase. Okay, that's a tax trick with the IRA. And the last thing is a mutual fund. A mutual fund is just like you invest in a mutual fund operates like a company, and it's a company that invests in several other companies. So if I have money, I can invest in Google, and if Google tanks, I lose it all. But a mutual fund operates as a company that invests in, if you have $100, it might invest $10 in Google, $10 in Nike, $10 in this. It operates as a separate company. And it really, it kind of helps you from a risk perspective because you're not just putting all your eggs in one basket, okay? I hope I'm answering your questions. Okay. So I know we have, what do we have about, let me see. She said, COVID has caused a lot of financial stress and most people will be in recovery mode. Yep, that's correct. Living with family and purchasing a home may not be in the forefront of minds. What are mindful ways to reduce stress? You know, that's a great question. You know, for me, you know, you know, especially now it's very stressful. I usually wake up to every morning to about 30 emails a day from clients. And I have clients texting me all day. And it's stressful, but you don't want to think of that as stressful. You want to think of that as a blessing, right? But how I handle stress is, you know, I believe in a higher power. I believe in God, and I pray in the morning, and that's my form of meditation, praying, because I know that there's something that's bigger than me, that controls things, and that's how I deal with stress. And I also deal with stress this way. What I've learned is that on the weekends, I tell myself, you know, you can only work a couple hours and then enjoy life. Okay. But I would say that the best stress reliever is if you can meditate and you could think of everything that you do have. Because a lot of times we think about what I don't have, or you might compare yourself to other people, and that can make you stressed out. But if you think about what you do have, that you're blessed, that you wake up in the morning and you're healthy, you wake up in the morning and you're breathing, you know, you wake up in the morning, you don't have a sickness or an illness. Appreciation makes you happier and it makes you less stressed, in my opinion. Okay. So, and to answer your question, I would say meditation is very important, and appreciation helps relieve stress. Okay. Well, I'm a firm believer that we're all on this planet for a reason. There's not, you know, it's not a coincidence. We're living beings for a reason. Everyone has its purpose, and you know, just be appreciative, and I think that helps, and it's helped me.
So I noticed there are like 3 more questions in the chat around NACA, rehabs, or loans for rehabs, and other economic suggestions. But I also want to be mindful of folks' time.
Yep, I could go a little over.
Okay, as long as it's okay with you and everybody else is okay with sticking on for a few more minutes, that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, I could go on for a little bit more.
Okay.
I feel so honored that everybody came here.
Definitely.
I want to make sure that you guys get what you can get out of it, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm very humbled that you all came. So let me see some of these words.
So the first one is any way to secure loans for rehabbing a multifamily home.
Yep. So that's Leon. That's a great question. There's something called a 203K loan, okay, and it's a loan for rehabbing. You got to be careful with rehabbing, especially if I don't know if you've done this the first time, but if you're doing it the first time, I would say for the first time, I would try to get a house or property that's ready to go, okay, because when you start playing when you start doing it more, I think rehab is fine, but there's a lot of stuff that these people hide, okay? And when you do the rehab and you're going into it for the first time, they might pull the wool over your eyes, and they might be selling you a bomb, and that's your first home, and you put your money down, and they buy your property that's crap and doesn't work, okay? And so I just had a situation with the property on Wainwright. I had the deal ready to go. Okay, we were ready to go, and we were going to do a rehab. But when I did an inspection, I said, you know what? Let me do an oil sweep just in case. I'll pay the extra money. They lied about having an oil tank. They lied to me in my face. If I was new to the game, I would have already been in trouble because some oil tanks take $65,000 to remove, especially when they're contaminated. Then the house had a whole bunch of other issues. Okay, so Leon, it's okay to want to do that. It's called a 203K loan. To secure that loan, the first thing they look at is credit. Okay, but I would recommend, if you can, to buy a property that's ready to go. Preferably a property that has tenants that live there, because it's working. Because these people will sell you properties that they'll be hiding stuff. Okay, so does NACA deal with rehab? That's a good question, Alice. I'm
just going to read the question out loud before, if in case others aren't reading the chat. It's the question is, does NACA deal with rehab, or does the property have to be in move-in condition?
Right, and so to answer your question, my gut tells me that they want to do that. They want people to purchase properties that are ready to go, because they don't want people to go into debt over rehab. Because rehab is it could be risky, and you don't really know what you're getting into. And a lot of investors, they hide things that are wrong with the property. Okay, but they might do it. From what I've seen, that people that completed the program, they've been homes that are ready to go. Okay. The next question: do you have to have a certain credit score? Yeah, I don't know what the actual score is through NACA. I think it's a 6 something. I believe it's a 650, but I could be wrong about that. But they do have a credit score. They do, but they are a great program, and they work with people's budgets. And I know people that have completed that program from beginning to end, and they've gotten a house with putting no money down, a multifamily. I don't know. One of my clients, I don't know if he's on this chat. He said he might join, but he just did the program, and he got a 3-family through the NACA program and put 0 down. And it's a 3-family. And he's got 2 tenants already paying, and they cover, I think 1 or 2 tenants, but they pretty much almost cover the debt. Okay. And so Erica Park has a question. Do you have to have a certain, okay, I answered that one. And then
so the next is about cooperative economic suggestions or other apps, mobile apps that can help people save and build savings.
Yeah,
You
I know people do.
I think Mint. Is it Mint that you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier?
people do Mint. My fiance, she does one. I forgot the name of it, but she uses it and she likes it a lot. But people do Mint. I think Mint is pretty good. And then if Leon asks a question, some people purchased multifamilies and lost them due to poor management. That's a good question. Well, I'll tell you one thing, multifamily sure is better than single family, because if something happens with a single family, you have nothing to leverage. But to answer your question, when you purchase a multifamily, make sure that it's priced right, because the lower the price, the lower your mortgage. That's the first thing. So look at the prices in the market and see if it's comparable. Also look at the rents in the area. Can the rents cover the mortgage? And also know that Section 8, usually pays more too as well, and is guaranteed. So when you look at a deal, Leon, pay attention to the purchase price and pay attention to say, hey, what would they pay me for rent here? Okay.
I'm gonna just take one last question and then close with Andrea's gratitude meditation. The last question is a NACA related question. Again, with NACA, will there still be a PMI? And if you could just explain what PMI is for folks.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you put less than 20% down, you have to pay something called PMI. It's a type of insurance. And it's like on the debt, on the mortgage, it's like an extra maybe $150 a month. And over time, that adds up. And until you get to that 20% threshold of payment, the PMI will stay on there. Okay, so if you put 20% down, you don't have to pay PMI. But if you put less than that, you have to pay it. And it's like every month, it's like an extra $100 on the mortgage. I just want to close with this. And first thing, you can follow me on Instagram, my business page, Coombs CPA, COOMBS CPA, COOMBS CPA. And we're located on 902 Bergen Street. And I want to say thank you for having me. And I want to say that economics is important, but it starts with the little things. It starts with being disciplined and saving money, having good credit. I have, a lot of you guys are from this community, and and I really, people, they'll say bad stuff about Newark, and I shun them because I really like the people here, and I really want what's best for the people here. Some great people in Newark, and I want people, instead of investing in consumer stuff like I did early on, to invest in real estate and start purchasing some of these properties. And start, I want to see, and I want to be a part of it. I want to see this area, this vacant storefronts. I want to see this. I want there to be restaurants. I want people investing and buying this stuff up, opening up healthy food places, healthy food options. I want to see no more Popeyes chicken stores. I want there to be a workspace here, and if everyone gets together and they try their best, to invest and say, hey, I'd rather sacrifice this so that I could start purchasing stuff, or I could start a business that's going to benefit this community. And last but not least, thanks to all of you. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate you coming. I'm very humbled that you came to listen to me. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. It's been a really rich conversation, kind of with some foundational knowledge as well as just some higher level things that we don't always put at the forefront, myself included, but we are grateful for your contribution and education around finances, saving, economic growth, empowerment, and more. And I reminded folks that they can follow you. Your website is right above your head.
Yep.
Banner, as well as your Instagram. And that if folks want to follow up with you, if you could also just add in the chat an email address for which folks can keep in touch should they have additional questions.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you, Melissa, for coming. You always support me. I really appreciate you.
Nice, nice. Hey, Melissa Reed. We all love
Hi, Tanisha. I missed you. I miss you guys.
Well,
All
good to
right.
see you all.
Same,
If
same.
you
So
have any
before we
questions, yeah.
go, yeah, don't leave us just yet, because
Oh,
Andrea's
sorry.
she's gonna close us out. It'd be nice to have you be a part of this as well, because you talked a little
Absolutely.
how you manage stress and just putting your level of gratitude and sovereignty to a higher power and a higher being. So it is fitting and appropriate to have Andrea kind of close us out with the gratitude meditation. And we hope that I'll stay just for a few minutes to participate in that. So Andrea, back to you.
Thank you, and thank you, Andrew. I don't know, I forget if this was mentioned at the beginning, but Andrew has generously and graciously joined our board. So he is one of our Newark Center for Meditative Culture board members. So if this is a topic, it clearly seems like a topic that is of interest to a lot of people. And so again, if there's more ways that we can provide mindful conversations about finance, business, then please let us know in any of the comments or any of the evaluations. And so we'll close similar to how we started, but really taking, keeping in mind what Andrew mentioned about awareness of the things, even the small things that we really appreciate. And gratitude is a life-changing practice. So whether you consider yourself a meditator or not, a prayer or not, if you can bring your awareness to things that are fulfill and enlighten your life on a regular basis, it is life-changing. So we're gonna close again by bringing the hand over the chest and the hand over the belly. And so this time we're gonna tie the deep breathing, which is a stress reliever. We're gonna tie that to images and ideas of gratitude. So for each person, this might be different, but as you are inhaling this time, bring to mind a person, place, or thing that you are grateful for. And as you inhale, you can take a moment to really envision, get that image in your head, and then on your exhale, envision that you are sending the same feeling that that person, place, or thing gives to you. You're going to send that energy back out into the world because we all need it. So again, when you inhale, you're really focusing in on something that you are grateful for. And then when you exhale, you can really envision it as light or energy. Envision spreading that joy and gratitude to all beings. So one more time, a deep inhale, envisioning something that you are grateful for. Let it cleanse your spirit, let it warm you. And then exhale and send that same light out to others. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has put a nice end to my long day on Zoom. So thank you all so much. I'm going to drop in the website for Newark Center for Meditative Culture.
Thank you so much. I can do that as well. And I can also add the social media platforms. I have it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
right in
Tanisha,
front of
for
me.
hosting this.
Oh yeah, no problem. Tonight was great. We thank you all for your participation. We hope that you will join us again on next Monday. I think it's June 8th. We will be offering again 3 sessions, 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m. The topics of each 3 I am forgetting right now, and I don't have the flyer in front of me, but I will be sure to follow up by email with recordings from past sessions, as well as our evaluation survey. We ask that you just take a few minutes to complete it and share your thoughts and ideas and feedback on the session. Until then, we look forward to seeing you next Monday. Have a good evening, all.
Thank you so much.